So I found myself very isolated. Like I said, I didn't really have a social life, didn't really have any friends growing up. And I was super isolated and I just wanted to make everything perfect. And I was spending so much time on myself. But what I've learned now that we have this team of 30, I can't be isolated as the CEO. So I've moved myself into the middle, where I'm a little bit more focused on the mission and reminding myself of that, as well as focused on serving others, being a good leader, looking out for not only our team, but also our clients, people in the community, any other key stakeholders. And that's kind of led me away from isolation / burnout more into balance, or agency, as I called it in the TED Talk.
Welcome to Mitlin Money Mindset, your weekly dose of inspiration and insights to ensure you enjoy each step of your journey. Whether you're saving for the future, planning your next big adventure, or simply looking to add more joy to your life, you've come to the right place. Now, let's dive in.
I'm Larry Sprung, your host for the Mitlin Money Mindset and founder and wealth advisor of Mitlin Financial. Today's guest is Justin Leusner, founder and CEO of TDAY Sports. Justin is a 21-year-old entrepreneur who's redefining what it means to build a business in the digital age. As the founder of TDAY Sports, Justin leads a team creating Gen Z's version of ESPN, reaching over 170 million people each month with engaging sports content across social media. With more than 1.2 million followers and collaborations with brands like Gatorade, Prime Video, and EA Sports, he's proven that age is no barrier to influence and impact. Justin's journey from posting his first video at age 10 to building a social media powerhouse speaks to his passion, creativity, and perseverance. Whether it's through producing content, innovating strategy, or scaling a business that's shaping the future of sports media, Justin is setting the standard for what's possible in the creator economy. Today, we're going to dive in and learn how to turn a passion into a thriving enterprise and stand out in the crowded world of social media. Justin's insights and experiences are sure to leave you inspired and ready to take action. Well, I am super excited today to have Justin Leusner, the founder and CEO of TDAY Sports. And as you all know, I love talking about sports, love talking about finance, love talking about the entrepreneurial journey. So that's what we're going to do here today. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Larry, thanks so much for having me. Excited for this conversation.
As am I. One of the things that our listeners are so fascinated with is the entrepreneurial journey. And we'll talk a lot about TDAY Sports, obviously, in our conversation. But perhaps you could share with our listeners your path to up until the point you founded TDAY Sports and, started that entrepreneurial journey.
Sure. So a lot of viewers in your audience probably relate to knowing or being or having a son or a daughter who wants to be a YouTube content creator. So that was me. I was 10 years old. This was back in January 2013. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be a YouTuber. And every kid says that. Every kid wants to do that. But kind of what I did that was different was every single day after school, I posted a YouTube video. And it helped that I didn't really have a social life. So I didn't really have many friends to hang out with. I was involved in sports here and there, but I would get home, do homework very quickly, and make a video. I did that every single day from January 2013 to about October 2019. I was a YouTuber. And about halfway through in 2016, 2017, 2018, I got a check in the mail for 2 cents from YouTube. And my parents were like, what the heck? This is very weird and interesting. The next month, it was $2.42 or something like that. The next month, it was $18, and it kept going up. And kind of at the peak of it, I was making $2,000 a week. It was nuts, absolutely nuts. And my parents they encouraged it because they saw it was real money coming in. They watched the videos. It made sense to them. I'm blessed that they understood it and they encouraged that entrepreneurial spirit. And then once COVID hit in 2020, my channel kind of died because the video game I was playing on YouTube was NBA Live Mobile and Madden Mobile. And those games kind of burnt out and died. They lost their fan base. Fortnite took over, if you know the game Fortnite. Yeah. So my channel kind of died with that. I pivoted to make a YouTube video editing business because I was very good at video editing from doing it every day for 7 years. Made a ton of money doing that during COVID. And I still do that. That's called TDAY Production. But over the past 2 years, we launched TDAY Sports because I wanted to be back in front of the camera again. I love content creation, but I wanted to create a scalable media company. And so that's where TDAY Sports was founded at a Penn State University accelerator program for entrepreneurs. I'm actually in it right now. It's called the Happy Valley Launchbox. And happy to chat more about that later on in the episode.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. So it sounds like being an entrepreneur was rooted in your DNA somewhere along the line. And I want to talk a minute about that the channel that died, right? Because at age 10, you said you started this with your mom's iPad. You started creating this content on YouTube, and my understanding is your focus there was on NBA Live, and you had about 47,000 subscribers. And like you said, you made money, you had some brand deals, and then everything kind of came to a stumbling halt with COVID. But at the same time, you're here, you're well, you've got a thriving new venture. So obviously there must have been some learning experiences that you took away from that whole experience of posting every day, growing it, and then having that die. What do you think that experience can teach other entrepreneurs, or what did you learn from it exactly?
Yeah. The number one thing I say is that you don't have to do it all yourself. I thought it had to be me. I thought I had to film, edit, do all the brand deals, do the accounting, the finances. I thought everything had to be me, especially in the world of YouTube where you don't really have a ton of business models to look up to and copy, especially in the 2010s when it was brand new. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs, myself included, we want to do everything because we're the best at it, which is absolutely correct. But what my pastor actually told me that you should delegate things to someone who could do it even 25% as good as you so that they can learn and eventually become best. It might take a few weeks or months. And so that I kind of learned that in 2021, and that mindset shifted. And now we have a team of 30 people and I pretty much delegate everything. And it's awesome. It's the way we've been able to scale, doubling our revenue every single year for the past 4 years.
Awesome. Yeah, I talk about the book Who Not How all the time, and you know, rather than finding out or learning how to do it, figure out who can do it,
Mm,
and chances are it'll end up a lot better when all's said and done.
I love it.
And then you said, after that channel died, you took those video editing skills, you opened up in a company, and then you managed over 200 channels, and you started this all while you were in high school, which is amazing, working late into the evenings. What have you learned from that experience in terms of balance, right? At that point you had school, you had the job, you had, how did you kind of weave in that who not how through that balancing act through high school?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned this. So I did a TED talk on this in February, and it's essentially how to not burn out. How do you balance even when you're working hard, long hours? And there's a couple ways that I kind of diagnose that. There's this visual of this axis where it's kind of on the x-axis itself, basically someone who's very focused on their own ambitions and their goals, and then on the other side is focused on others. And that's kind of like you're always trying to look out for other people and you do work for other people in the workplace. And then the vertical axis is mission focused. So you're very much like about the big mission of your company or whatever you're doing. And then the other side of the axis is mastery, when you're very, very focused on your craft. So I kind of lean in that bottom left corner, which is like isolation. So I found myself very isolated. Like I said, I didn't really have a social life, didn't really have any friends growing up. And I was super isolated and I just wanted to make everything perfect. And I was spending so much time on myself. But what I've learned now that we have this team of 30, I can't be isolated as the CEO. So I've moved myself into the middle, where I'm a little bit more focused on the mission and reminding myself of that, as well as focused on serving others, being a good leader, looking out for not only our team, but also our clients, people in the community, any other key stakeholders. And that's kind of led me away from isolation / burnout more into balance, or agency, as I called it in the TED Talk.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's something that you can only continue to use, implement, and lean on as your life changes, maybe having a family, more responsibilities than you have now, et cetera, right?
Yeah,
That's something that you could just take with you along the way.
absolutely. I'm excited for those days, but a little bit nervous because they're going to be tough.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that you're in this incubator. So can you tell us maybe a little bit about that and how that's helped you through your journey as well? How's that assisted you?
It's been unbelievable. So Penn State is investing lots of resources into entrepreneurship, student entrepreneurship in particular at Penn State. I'm in the Happy Valley launch box. They actually have a launch box at every single, I think all 31 Penn State branch campuses across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Essentially, it's a place where student entrepreneurs, even community entrepreneurs, can come in And there's access to 6 different programs. Each of them have some sort of funding to them, whether it's just cash, no equity, not a loan, just literally a grant, or a reimbursement for travel to do customer discovery, or $1,000 in SolidWorks credits if you're designing a physical product. It's unbelievable. I've been through every single one of the programs, and now even on the other side of the programs, mentoring and being a pitch competition judge this Wednesday. But it's the best, most underrated resource at Penn State. We've gotten over $35,000 in equity-free cash to fund our business, to get it off the ground over the past 2 years. It's been unbelievable. The mentors here are awesome. Some of our biggest clients have came from this room right here. Every game weekend when Penn State football is playing, a ton of alumni come in here. You get to meet them. It's fantastic.
Sounds like you're leveraging and utilizing every opportunity that you have, at your disposal through your collegiate venture. So that's great. And as a serial entrepreneur, while only in your 20s, you seem to find resources while studying entrepreneurship that led to your aha moment. And I think that the Happy Valley Launchbox is just one, kind of example of that. And you had this aha moment that ESPN was talking down to their audience, right? And this led you to found TDAY Sports and really gear it towards content for by Gen Z for Gen Z. So, what do you have to say about that? How did you come to this aha moment and kind of change the landscape there?
Yeah, so 2 summers ago, when I was in the first program here at the Launchbox, it's called Idea Test Lab. I came in with the idea of, hey, I want to be a YouTuber again. I've been doing this video editing business for 2 years, where I'm making good money, but I kind of don't want to do this for the rest of my life unless I'm in front of the camera in some capacity. And so they said, sure, read this book. It's called The Mom Test. Essentially, what the Mom Test is basically, if I were to ask my mom, hey, mom, what do you think about this theoretical cookbook app where it's $20 a month and you get all your favorite cookbooks on this app? What's your mom going to say? Oh, that's a great idea. I would absolutely buy that,
Right.
which is just terrible data if you're doing customer discovery. And so they teach you to ask good questions and don't pitch your business. So I wanted to create a sports YouTube channel. So I wanted to do customer discovery. I don't know if anyone's ever done customer discovery on a YouTube channel before, but I wanted to do it. So I sat down 20 of my best friends, all sports fans, all around my age of Gen Z, and just asked them questions. Are you watching ESPN? Do you use Bleacher Report? I would study them, like when they didn't even know, when we're like out to dinner. It's just, what are they scrolling on? What are they swiping on? What apps are they on? What types of videos are they engaging with? And kind of this common trend that I found was, one, they're not really watching ESPN other than for live games. They're really just on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok getting their sports news and entertainment and content and stories. But what I found is this quote of ESPN talks down to their audience, like you said, Larry. And I think that couldn't be, further from the truth. This was, closer to the truth. This was 2 years ago. They've improved now with Pat McAfee. He is very much like level. He's awesome. Everyone loves Pat McAfee. But traditionally, ESPN's done a poor job of that. And they still do, really, outside the Pat McAfee show. It's kind of the same vibe you get. That's why Gen Z is moving to YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, to get the fans' perspective, to get the by Gen Z perspective. Normal people like me talking about sports that they can relate to, like they're on FaceTime with their friend.
Right. So do you think that, I know that this is the vertical or the area you're trying to lean into, right? You're trying to go to that blue ocean, so to speak, with regard to this. But do you think that you're going to push an ESPN to start making even greater moves and moving further into that direction that you're already heading?
I hope so. I mean, that's what marketplace capitalism is all about. We push them to make better content. They push us to make better content. I love competition like that. So yeah, we've seen them, and as well as the NBA in particular, start partnering with creators. Kenny Beecham, one of the biggest basketball creators, partnered with the NBA. He was a talent, someone on ESPN talking about basketball. They're doing a better and better job of doing that. So hopefully, they keep that up, and it pushes us to do a better job of making, the next legacy media sports brand.
Now, the journey that you've had so far with TDAY Sports has shown you something that you've talked about that I've learned, and I've been working with one of our stakeholders, Jarrell, on, and that's the power that comes from finding and working with your ideal client, right?
Mm.
It's so much easier to find and then work with those ideal ones than try to convince somebody who may not be an ideal client that, you're the best thing since sliced bread, if if you will. Can you share how you've come to understand the power of, working with your ideal client or customer, whatever that is for you?
Absolutely. So for Today production over the past 4 years since 2020, pretty much anyone who came to me saying, "Hey, Justin, I need help with social media. I need help with YouTube." Guess what I said? Absolutely. What? Let's do it. I said yes to everyone, and that was great. I got to learn who I like working with. I got to do a variety of different projects. But in the past year, we've kind of narrowed that down to two avatars. One was sports brands, sports tech, sports companies that need help reaching Gen Z sports media fans, and then the other one is very, very different. But we found out they pay a lot of money, and that's professional services. So a law firm, an insurance guy, a real estate channel. Even we were doing like life insurance tips and tricks for investing at one point. And so what we've learned is that, okay, we do a good job of attracting both of these customers for whatever reason. The professional side's a lot of referrals. But what we've learned is that, by calculating the LTV and even the customer acquisition cost of both of these types of clients, we were doing a much better job of serving our sports clients based on the LTV than the professional services clients. Even though the professional services clients were paying more every month, the sports clients were working with us for a lot longer of a period because, one, we were simply more passionate about it, more knowledgeable about Gen Z sports fans, because that's what we are, versus helping real estate brokers and insurance guys grow on YouTube, where we know the YouTube algorithm very well. And we even helped a real estate law firm go from 0 to 350,000 subscribers in 2 years. However, we are not that passionate about it. And there's very high churn because, we're specialized in sports, and versus there's so many other agencies out there that could do YouTube for professional services. So we kind of have stopped accepting those clients. We only work with about 2 or 3 more that we've worked with for a while now, just trying to honor that relationship. But any new inbounds we get in that world, we give to a preferred partner, and we're doing a much better job, specialized on focused on sports social media clients.
Imagine a relationship where financial conversations don't feel stressful, but actually bring you joy. We've designed a guide to help you have positive, meaningful money conversations with your partner. This isn't just another budgeting tool, it's a roadmap for building trust and connection. So if you're ready to start a joyful money journey with your partner, go to mitlin.us/couplesjoy and download your free guide. Transform your financial future together starting today. Nice. Yeah, I could see that too. And I think a lot of those professional services, I think it's a hard, once you get that lift, like you talked about, right? And you have that scale in terms of subscribers, I can see a lot of those professional services. Thanks for doing what we wanted you to do. And now, move on, which is probably the wrong approach for them to take. They should continue to, if it's working, continue to, push behind that. But I could see them saying, thanks, but we're ready to move on. Whereas, sports is just consistently and constantly evolving, and there's always new stuff going on, and they see the benefit because they want to get to that audience that you already have, which is amazing. And there's always new content to be had. That's for sure, right?
That's right. Beauty of sports.
Yeah, yeah. You've said, my understanding is if you've had opportunities to either be acquired or make acquisitions, but you've kind of said, no to these, why have you turned down those deals? And, what is kind of your vision for building out today's sports? What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. To date, we've had about 4 of those over the past, I think, year and a half. I won't go into detail out of respect for those. But essentially, the reason why we've said no, and we have great relationships with all 4 of those stakeholders, and maybe there's something there in the future. The reason we've said no is because we are not even close to where we will be in the next 5, 10, 20 years. Our potential is unbelievable, especially as someone who just turned 22 years old. I have lots and lots of time to build this into a 8, 9 figure media company. Essentially, our team as well, we're all very young and hungry, and we have so much potential, and we want the freedom and we want the flexibility to operate how we feel best led. And so, yeah, that's kind of why we've turned those down. We're very grateful that we've had those conversations. I've learned a ton. And it's been really cool even learning about like how to value a company and things we can do now so that maybe in 5 or 10 years, if we do want to exit, how we can position ourselves as best as possible.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, if you get those kind of offers, right, it means you're doing something right. So if nothing else, it just validates what you're doing. But at the same time, I mean, is that the goal? Is your goal at some point to exit this? Are you building it for an exit, or are you building it to really just grow it at this point?
Yeah, great question. No, we're not specifically building it for an exit. We're keeping some of those same principles in mind, so that if I want to exit one day and become maybe just chairman of the company and be able to scale that and work on something else while still owning it, we can. But no, we're not building it for an exit. We're building it to become the number one most viewed sports media brand on YouTube by 2034. We want to partner with the coolest brands in sports, like the NBA and Dude Perfect and Nike and Gatorade. That's what we're building for.
Yeah. I think you bring up a great point, which gets lost on a lot of businesses, right? Whether you're looking for an exit or not, you should be growing and treating the business as if you were, to make sure that you're, keeping track of the numbers, you're understanding what's going on, and it's not just becoming some entity that's, a family-run business, if you will. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it makes it more difficult if you need to make an exit or you decide to change things up. Now you have to start that process from scratch. Whereas if you're doing that from the very beginning, it's much easier to pivot and make those changes as they become necessary,
Absolutely.
which is a great thing you've learned.
Absolutely. And I don't want to be, not, I don't really take many vacation days now, but in the future, honeymoon or something, I don't want to have to be working through that. Because if I'm tied to every action item in the business, I'd like to be able to have that
Yeah.
freedom to take off when I want.
You got that right. So you've talked about it. You've partnered with several brands. No disrespect to any of them, but what is your favorite brand to work with and why?
Great question. My favorite brand to work with are those that understand that we have been creating content. I've been creating content for 12 years. We understand what's going to get the most views. A lot of brands like to come in and they have so many different things that need to be done exactly right. And I tell them, hey, that's likely not going to get as many views as a video that this brand that gave us total creative freedom would. So it's those brands that understand we understand the algorithms. Let us, for lack of a better phrase, let us cook. Obviously we need to make sure it follows your brand guidelines and we do the correct call to action, but at least for the hook and for the format and the idea of the video, the more creative freedom, the better results you're going to get.
So you're not gonna commit to saying you have one specific brand that you really enjoy working with over some others.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that's what you meant by that question. Um, well, I think one of our favorite companies we worked with all time, I mentioned them earlier, Gatorade. They were the first brand that believed in us. So obviously they have a special place in my heart. They were the first brand deal that we signed to a long-term partnership that was more than just one video. We signed for a 4-month partnership and then another 6-month partnership. And we're still in talks to continue that to promote the Gatorade Fast Twitch drink. Yeah, they were the first one to believe in us. It was our biggest deal we did at the start of our company. I think it's still up there in like top 5, but yeah. And who doesn't love Gatorade?
Yeah, yeah, and so I guess the love for them is really because they were the first. We always remember them, and then I guess secondarily, did they allow you to kind of have that autonomy that you were looking for, that you mentioned earlier, that you find in brands that you really work well with?
Oh yeah, they were incredible. They said, listen, 10 videos a month is in the contract. Do whatever you want. Just say Gatorade Fast Twitch and say energy drink. That's it. And I was like, yes. So we made some really, really fun creative videos that did very well. I think we did 50 million views for them in 2023, which is unbelievable. All organic, no paid spend behind that. 50 million views over, you know, 50, 60, 70 videos, something like that. And yeah, they gave us that freedom. And that's why the brand partnership worked out and we hit it out of the park.
Amazing. And I think you glossed over it very quickly, but I think it's an important piece to kind of, hone in on. You did this all without any paid advertisement. It was really just all organic views of these 50 to 70 videos, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I get the sense that when, people are looking to do this kind of content, they feel like they have to put money behind it in order to get it out there. And I guess you're saying that that's not necessarily the case. There is you have to figure out what that magic formula is. But once you do, you could really do it all organically and not with any paid behind it. Right.
Oh, absolutely. You need at least 7 organic touch points with the customer before you hit them with a paid video. that should be ultra targeted to people who've already watched, at least 7 of your videos. And then the paid spend video should just be a call to action. I think a lot of people do the whole paid media world incorrectly. Obviously, I'm not an expert in paid. I'm an expert in organic. But I think people waste a lot of money when, if they were to invest in organic content, they would build a much bigger community, a deeper community, and convert a lot easier.
Yeah. So listen, if I'm a business or I'm an entrepreneur, I have a business venture that I'm looking to get out into the world, right? Are there a couple of tips that you could share with our listeners in order to that they need to do this in order
Yes,
to get a higher rate of organic growth and views on their videos?
this is my favorite question, Larry. Yep. Tip number one, I'll give you two. Tip number one is post on your LinkedIn personal brand once a week. Try to post at 9 a.m. either on Monday or Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, and document your journey. Build in public. Share the behind the scenes. Don't be a salesman. Don't talk about this is the deal of the month, whatever, until you've built that trust. So every single Monday I've posted on LinkedIn for the past 2 years. It's been unbelievable in helping us build a community, a B2B community that is, and that's led to so many sales. Tip number two, this one's a little bit harder to pull off, but make YouTube long form content once a week. Talk about what you do, educate your customer in their field. So if you are a real estate broker and you're looking to bring on clients that want to purchase a home, talk about the benefits of purchasing a home in 2025, or talk about the 5 types of homes that you should look at if you're a 24-year-old, married couple. Like, talk to your customer through educational free value content. That's, like I said, that's why we have such success in the professional services industry, is because no one's doing that. And we're getting so much results for our clients in that world. So yeah, once a week LinkedIn, once a week YouTube.
Yeah, and I think those are great points. And I also have heard you say that you never had a good idea, and I think this kind of dovetails into what we were just talking about. You just did something. Can you elaborate on what you mean by that?
Yes, that's me in a nutshell. I am not even close to the smartest person in any room. But what I am good at is just getting things done and executing and not giving up. All my entrepreneurship friends are brilliant. They're so smart. They're like Steve Jobs, Albert Einstein. They have these grand ideas, but they don't come to fruition because they don't actually do them. They just talk about it and think about it and draw business plans all day and maybe start to do stuff, but then they get tired of it really quickly and they burn out. Then they pivot a week later. Like, no, pick something, stick to it, do it for at least like 30 days, if not 90 days, and make it metric if you hit that. So for me, it was 100 days straight of posting 3 videos a day on YouTube Shorts, Instagram, and TikTok. That's how I started TDAY Sports. After 100 days, we had 20,000 followers or something like that. We started already making money. And so if you give up week 1 or day 30, you're not going to have anything. That's where I think I've had success, is I just keep going. And even when I face hardship, you just got to not give up. You got to keep going.
Perfection's the enemy of done, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And I see, for those people who are just listening to the show and don't have the visual, I'm assuming that's what the hat is referring to, press publish, meaning kind of just do it, get it out there, right?
Wow, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of my favorite YouTube creator brands called Colin and Samir. They're awesome, but that's their thing. Yeah, you just post the freaking video. It does not have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Post it.
Yeah, I will tell you, I've gone back and looked at my videos that I posted 5, 7 years ago, and they are abysmal. But the whole idea is, as long as you do it, you get better, you refine, you hone those skills. That's use it as a learning experience and just keep improving. But get it out there. I think it's great
Good for you,
advice.
Larry.
Yeah, thank you. While most young adults in college, they always claim, well, I don't have time for this, or I don't have time for that. How is, I know that for you, scheduling has been extremely beneficial and important. How has, your ability to be diligent about scheduling helped you accomplish so much while still in school?
That's been the key. I tell everyone, you got to use a Google Calendar. You got to put what you got going on that day in there. Yeah, everyone says they don't have enough time, even non-college students, which is, even sometimes I say this and I'm like, no, that's a lie. Everyone has 24 hours in a day. When you say I don't have time, that just means it's not a priority over something else. So it's a priorities game at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Or maybe it's just you don't know how to manage your time well. So get a calendar and stick to it. Yeah, that's been instrumental.
Yeah, I mean, is it as simple as that, just having the calendar, or do you have other kind of tips and tricks that you use to make sure that you're utilizing your time as best as it can be used?
Not really. I mean, if you got to use the calendar and check it frequently so that it's actually valuable to you. I mean, I used to work kind of when I woke up to when I went to bed, and that was not great for burnout. So now I do a strict deadline of 7 p.m. and a start time of 9 a.m. One of my friends, Jack Adler, does this thing where he'll only do one kind of like networking slash mentoring call per week. I haven't stuck to that, but I think that's a great tip that I need to take, and maybe other entrepreneurs can take, is because I take a lot of kind of like mentoring, networking calls, but really that might start eating at the success of what I'm actually building.
Yeah. Do you time block out your day, or just simply if it's open and you have the freedom and it makes sense for you to meet with that person or whatever that is, you just throw it on the calendar?
No, I do time block. 9 to 12 is internal meetings. 12 to 1 is lunch. 1 to I believe 4:30 is external meetings, which maybe I got to shrink that down a little bit. Slash sales meetings, so that helps. And then 4:30 to 7 is again deep work, creative time, or if we're shooting a piece of content, or if we have a all hands meeting, it'll go in that slot.
Awesome. So, listen, Justin, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. And we end each of our shows asking each of our guests the same question because we are all about joy. We are the Mitlin Money Mindset. And that is, what did you do today that brought you joy and put you in the right mindset for success?
Oh, beautiful question. I had one of my most productive morning routines I've had in a while. Woke up at 5:45, hit the gym with my good buddy Judah from 6 to 7:45, and then came here to the launch box. Spent about an hour just reading. I read Luke 9 and Proverbs 9 today. Spent some time praying, just in God's word, asking God for help because I can't do it without Him. Just praying over the next month, what everything's looking like leading up till Christmas, praying over my future and what that looks like, and felt super good going into my 9 a.m. first meeting of the day.
Awesome. Well, sounds like a great way to start the day. And Justin, we're going to have all of your information and today's sports in the show notes. But if people want to learn more about you, learn more about today, connect with you, what's the easiest and the best place for them to do that?
Oh yeah, LinkedIn, Justin Leusner. Shoot me a connection, DM me. Would love to chat. I get back to every single one of my DMs unless you're asking for money, and would love to connect over there.
Awesome. Well, listen, Justin, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Love what you're doing, and looking forward to seeing where you go and today's sports go from here. So, thank you so much, and enjoy the day.
Thanks, Larry.
I want to thank Justin Leusner for being a guest on the Mitlin Money Mindset. Justin has turned his passion for sports and his skills for content creation to create a company that has been called the Gen Z ESPN. His focus and growth mindset has allowed him to grow his presence and attract major brands to his content. Justin is an example that great ideas can be born at any age, as this was all started when he was only 10 years old. Justin Leusner and Today's Sports can be found across most social media platforms. All the contact information needed to find them can be found in the show notes.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Mitlin Money Mindset. Remember, it's not just about the money, it's finding joy in the journey and embracing the right mindset. If you love the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Don't forget to follow along for more tips and inspiration. Please visit the social links below to connect with Larry or his guests. Until next time, keep smiling, keep thriving, and remember to think about, what did you do today that brought you joy?
The opinions voiced in the Mitlin Money Mindset show with Lawrence Sprung are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. No strategy ensures success or protects against loss. To determine what may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Guests on the Mitlin Money Mindset show are not affiliated with CWM LLC.